Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Trader Tim from eMiniMind.com doing a trade recap for today. It's Thursday, January 10th, 2019. And if you begin looking at the 30-minute chart, you can see kind of that um, sort of S pattern that I was talking about in Monday's video where you sort of snake your way up, pull back, and then make another leg higher. Sometimes it's more horizontal. In today's case, it's a little bit more vertical. If we draw from lows to the high from, about 1030-ish, we did pull back. We did break the 61.8 a little bit, but was immediately followed with this hammer formation and then rallied again into the close. So I had a good number of trades today. Nothing really that ripped for a huge gain like Tuesday's 10-pointer. But I wanted to run through those and kind of what I was seeing here this morning. So at the open today, it looked a lot like the last couple of days where, we open up and I draw up the first retracement that I can find. That one fails. And I draw up the next retracement. That one fails. And sort of in the first 15 minutes, there's not really a good trend established, and it's really just moving sideways. But then as we kind of got beyond that first 15 minutes, I noticed that we had a retracement trade nice and clean. We broke lows here. So this low was taken out over here. We rallied to the 50% and then sold off right to the negative 23% target. And that's a good scenario to have where you have a swing low that's broken first. Sorry, back here. This low is broken. So we make a new low on the day, even though it's only 15 minutes into the day. At least it's a sign that we could be establishing some sort of trend. So I liked that sort of developing pattern. We traded at the 50% to the negative 23% target. So I drew up the next short and took that at 65s. We did trade a little bit in, got a little dirty. I think it was it took 5 ticks of heat, but it ended up working out down to the target, at least the first target down here. And then I tightened my stop above this swing high, and then we proceeded to reverse. So I noted that, okay, we started the morning somewhat in a downtrend, got a reaction at a couple of shorts, couple of 50%, made it to the target, but didn't really get that second or third movement beyond that. So as we broke that short, I just drew up the full and waited for that to break. Once we failed that 61.8, well, first I don't know if it's going to break or not. So drawing up the short and seeing that there was nothing there, like so. We didn't really stop, pause, add it, or anything like that. So there was no trade there. So then immediately I drew the trade in the other direction. And again, just watching this 50%, not placing a limit order at it, just waiting to see if there's a reaction. We had a bounce just in front of the 50. And then if I draw up the opposing here, we can see that failed the 61.8. So I went ahead and drew up the very first 512 tick long after the little bit larger long. Took that at 68.50s. Again, went up to the target and went up a little bit higher even, but then didn't really get any follow through. So made it to the target, had the opportunity to tighten my stop underneath this swing low here, which coincidentally ended up being a nice little double top. So as soon as I got out of that trade, so that was at 12s, 42 minutes after the bell. Whoops. And we had a high tick on this first high. Then we dipped, bounced again. So this was the high price that lined up with the high nicey tick for the day. So as soon as I got out of that short, or I'm sorry, out of that long, I drew up the short and took that right here at 70 evens. is where that one was. And so that had a little bit more follow through, how we went straight down here. And so again, going through the negative 23% target, this one, because we were moving very quickly, I started trailing each candle's high on the way down. And it was kind of expecting us to go back to the bottom of the first 30-minute range. We didn't really make it there. This horizontal line up here is the top of the 30-minute range, bottom of the 30-minute range. We got about 2/3 of the way, and then we reversed. So then I got stopped out down in this area, which was a sizable gain. 70 entry down to about 65 or 66. 4 points, decent. And then things starting to accumulate just by the trades from the morning. A couple points here, a couple points there. And then from there, there wasn't really a lot to do. Not really many opportunities. We broke out of kind of made this V here, and we broke above the first 30-minute range. I did not choose to put a buy stop above highs and just jump in. Would have been a nice one today, but just for whatever reason at the time, I didn't see that as a strong opportunity. Nonetheless, we kind of started to move higher, and then we got this sideways action. I drew up a retracement here to this guy, but I felt like we were, we were an hour into the day, and I was kind of looking more for a reversal. And so, if we move along in our tick chart, I was thinking, well, okay, if we get some sort of high tick that lines up with highs, then maybe we're an hour into the day, maybe we'll get a pullback. But we didn't get that. We didn't really have any high ticks that lined up with either of these highs. So I just I drew up this retracement, and I just kind of left it there as we moved sideways. Didn't really do anything in that time. And then we continued to move higher, and I drew up from this 50%. Since we didn't make a pullback here, I just used that same anchor point and drew it up to there once I saw us kind of making a bigger pullback. And coming down into this 50%, obviously we didn't touch it here, but seeing that we had a little bit deeper pullback, meaning that this drawing is a little bigger as opposed to just coming in and drawing a real small setup like that, I felt like we had pulled back enough. And this is 2582s, so that puts us kind of right in the middle, right over here of, well, it was a little bit even lower than that. We're kind of right near the close of yesterday. So opportunity for us to go higher or lower. And so once I saw us moving higher without even tagging the 50% here, I drew up the opposing short. I saw us break this 61.8. We had already broken the swing high here. Nice little double bottom. Basically the opposite of the short earlier in the day, only we didn't have a low tick of the day at this point. Move my ticks along here. So we didn't have a low tick of the day. It was, we had dipped. The ticks dipped and we're in a lower point, which is a good sign for taking a long, a nicey tick that's moved down. But this little double bottom, breaking the 61.8 here, I just drew up low to high. And because we've had lots of 50% retracements working, getting reactions, get my right anchor point. That was an 80, actually an 84 and a quarter. I ended up doing it at 84s because it kind of happened really fast. So 84s traded right to the target, and then through it, same thing. Once we started ripping, so to speak, 84s, we traded up to 90s, 6 points. I just started trailing my stop underneath each candle's low, and that's kind of my go-to. If things start moving really quickly, there's no bigger swing low pullback in this rise. I don't have time to be playing around, and kind of being too conservative if the market is ripping. I'd rather just trail my stop under each candle's low, and whenever we get that pullback, boom, it kicks me out. So that's kind of how I played that long off of this larger setup, and you can see how this larger one pulled back, didn't quite touch the 50, but we did touch that larger negative 23. I drew up the next one, kind of looking for that same thing, letting the opposing short break to then get in on the smaller 512, but this one traded right through it. So it's helpful to let those bigger levels trade and then come in and draw the smaller long on the, or smaller setup on the 512, because if it does blow through, then there's no trade. You don't get in. And if you do get in, if you do get a bounce and you draw up your little long, yeah, you might be a point or so above the bigger long, but it kind of offsets by having not taken the losing trades. Your probability increases. So yeah, your profit may be a touch smaller, but when you factor in that you have less losers because you're just being a little bit more patient, it definitely goes a long way. So yeah, that was my morning. Let's see here. We ended up, I think we had a high tick at 35s. Yeah, we did have a high tick at 35s, but then that was broke following that at 10:01s, and then so we had a high tick, and then we sold off a little bit, and then we made another high and had another high tick, and so the shorts were, intriguing, but we didn't really have anything set up, and we were kind of getting into the lunchtime session. So just seeing the trend earlier in the day where we were trending pretty nicely to the upside, the shorts, other than that one early on here at the top of the first 30-minute range, the shorts didn't really have any traction. So that's when I chose to shut it down, and felt like there was pretty good reactions today and very good price structure. The market was moving in a way that was very conducive to 50% retracements. And when you kind of slow play into the year or into the week or into the month, it helps kind of keep a level head and stay focused. And because if you get off to a bad start and you get into a rut on the week, let's say Monday you just open your chart and jump right in and start placing trades, and you have a couple losing trades. Well, now because you're flustered or you're frustrated from those losing trades, you might end up missing some winning trades. So I always err on the side of trade less as opposed to trade more. If you want to trade more and you're all excited, pull up your sim account if you're trading on live. Pull up your sim account. You can play around there, pull up a different market or whatnot, and play around on the sim account. But when it comes to live trading, you want to be, like I said, I err on the side of trading less and being more focused than trying to trade my way out of a drawdown. So I hope that was helpful, running through some of today's trades. As always, Tuesdays we do a live trading room. You can check that out over at eminimind.com/VIP. Thanks everyone, and have a great weekend.